And there it is, guys. There it is. The Acolyte is canceled before season 2. Can't imagine.
Yeah, I never would have guessed this would have happened.
Breaking news from Deadline. We're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, yeah, woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Yeah, this shouldn't come as a shock to anyone because to anyone who's been paying attention, the views are very, very low on this show. They're not getting a return on their investment, and I have a feeling that they only moved forward with it because they were obligated to move forward with it. But it was brand damaging. I think it was brand damaging.
Yeah, and the thing is, people kept pointing out, like, a lot of times it wasn't performing well, and then one service, I forget what it was called, was like, oh, it's doing great on our service. And I'm like, no one else thinks so. I mean, the power of one, the power of two, the power of bankruptcy, because it's not there.
Yeah, maybe they're, here's the thing. Maybe they are going to try to course correct Star Wars like they're apparently trying to course correct Marvel. We'll see what happens. But this is coming from Deadline. It just happened a couple of minutes ago. The Acolyte canceled no season 2 for Disney's Star Wars series. Exclusive! The story of The Acolyte will not continue, with Lucasfilm opting not to proceed with the second season. Starring Amandla Stenberg. Sources tell Deadline.
Okay, so it's sources.
Sources, probably people at Lucasfilm, probably like...
So, maybe, most likely.
Most likely it's over, right?
Okay.
Well, and that's kind of like with Boba Fett, too. He's not going to be in the Mandalorian movie, and because, that didn't do very well. Word of the decision comes more than a month after the 8-episode first season of the series from creator, director, executive producer, and showrunner Leslie Headland wrapped its run on Disney+. They're even admitting the news is not entirely surprising.
No, it's not. No, actually, it is surprising. I'm surprised they didn't double down on the bullshit like they usually do. I am seriously surprised Disney didn't double down on bullshit, because they normally, like 2 or 3 years ago, they'd be like, hell yeah.
2 or 3 years ago when they had more money.
We'd like to lose money, sure.
Yeah, when they had money to burn, they would have burnt more money on another season of this. But they clearly do not have the money to burn.
I mean, they've spent how many years burning down the fandom? Every time they get some goodwill, they destroy it. So,
The news is not entirely surprising. The Acolyte did okay with critics, 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, but divided Star Wars fans yet again.
It didn't divide. There was hardly anybody who watched it.
Yeah. Which was reflected in its overall viewership. I think the Star Wars fandom has been whittled down to next to nothing at this point. Driven by interest into the venerable franchise, The Acolyte got off to a strong start.
Not.
No, it didn't.
And that was 4.8 million views for the first two, and the first day for the first 2 episodes. So that's divided by 2. And then that's also like one of the lowest.
Yes. Yeah. And like, it's not just this. I mean, this definitely did not help, but like Disney Star Wars, especially on Disney Plus, it's just been dud after dud after dud.
I mean, like, it made the top 10 in the first week at number 7.
I know.
The first week, beat by porn.
It was beat by porn?
By Bridgerton.
Oh, Bridgerton basically is porn, yeah. They said the tally rose to 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming, corroborating Disney's data. The series made its debut on Nielsen's top 10 originals chart.
At 7.
At number 7.
For a Star Wars show. At number 7.
Climbing to number 6 the following week. The Acolyte could not sustain the momentum, dropping out of the top 10 in week 3.
Wasn't week 3 the week of the Power of 1, Power of 2, many?
Yes.
Okay, so it went up on week 3. For that one, because everybody was like, what the hell? And then it dropped again.
That is the only episode I watched, and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty bad. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I have zero desire to watch anymore. Yeah, I'm done.
Why don't you put yourself through it if you didn't? I didn't watch any of it, and I'm going to keep it that way.
I watched it because if I was going to talk about it, I was going to watch the episode. But that's the only episode of the show I watched. And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty bad.
I didn't watch any of them.
Pretty not good. There was some, it's, you just save yourself the aggravation.
I am. I'm not even going to touch it.
And why get invested? Like half of these streaming shows anyway, you get invested in them. And, not this one necessarily, but you get invested and they're like, oh yeah, we canceled it already.
Well, we'll talk about Disney actually following through with things that do bad, but they're taking away the wrong message. We have the new Mandalorian Grogu movie coming out. You don't have to go find it. We'll just talk about it. And Tamora Morrison's basically saying at the Chicago Con, this was the C2E2?
Yeah.
Who was saying that,
or Fan Expo,
or Fan Expo, whatever it was. Whatever the Chicago Con was. He was there saying that, he didn't get a call and, they haven't called him back to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu, and that he thinks the show and the failure of the show directly impacted him moving forward on this character. But the flip side was he kept telling them he thought that the show wasn't in character and they wouldn't listen to him. And then the show wasn't in character.
Boba Fett was so boring.
It was Mandalorian like 1.5.
Yeah, but the thing is like Boba Fett, when they brought him back, he actually was pretty badass in The Mandalorian. I like that version of Boba Fett. And then when they gave him his own show, I'm like, oh, we're going to get more of this. We're going to get this Boba. No, we got sad sack.
Well, he even said,
Boba
he said there were so many lines and it's not the way he would act, and he kept telling them that, and they made him do it anyway. And
what does he know?
Huh?
What does he know?
I know, right? And it didn't do well. Just like, imagine that Obi-Wan. People were expecting an Obi-Wan show. Boba Fett was supposed to, they were really expecting Boba Fett, really excited about it. Didn't get Boba Fett. They got whatever that was. And then
Boba Fett.
Yeah, well, didn't get Boba Fett. And then we had, Obi-Wan. People were expecting Obi-Wan, and we got Obi-Wan and the Little Leia show, which made no sense.
That made no sense.
And then we thought, well, we're going to do something new. And then we're going to do something new in Star Wars and make the Acolyte. And I'm sorry, you can do something new in Star Wars in a different timeline that's not the Skywalkers. They did it in the books all the time. I mean, sometimes they tied the Skywalkers, but they did it in the books often.
Yeah.
You can do that. They've done it in the games often. It's totally doable. The difference is you have to make a good show that feels like Star Wars and connects with Star Wars fans. This is not that.
None of these were. Why could we just make a show about like Rogue Squadron without Luke Skywalker or other rebels? Or, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like set during the original trilogy era. And I know people want to get away from.
Well, he was in the Rogue Squadron, but not all the time.
Well, yeah, but like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or like before Luke. I don't know. Anyway, they said, yeah, like Netflix and Prime Video, Disney Plus has a high viewership threshold for renewing high-end, big-budget series that cost well above $100 million per season to make. And this one did not. I'll tell you, this actually looked the cheapest of any of the Star Wars shows.
Yeah, everybody, even people who like the show, did agree. Where'd the money go?
Yeah, it looked like a fan film.
People who gave it good reviews even said, I don't see where the money for the budget went.
Yeah, so, and Leslie Headland, of course, wanted a season 2. I think most people knew it wasn't going to last, but they're also like, well, Disney being Disney and Kathleen Kennedy being Kathleen Kennedy, she's going to double down on this. But I'm like, you can only double down so much until you run out of money. And this is where, look, all the culture war stuff, all the whatever, all the complaining, that's not what's going to change Disney's mind. What is going to change Disney's mind about Star Wars and Marvel is running out of fucking money.
Right.
Okay, when you run out of money because you've chased off your audience, then you're going to have to do a 180 to try to get them back.
Well, they were even arguing that they're trying to do the Star Wars show because they're trying to appeal to the women, because the female fans, and we talked about that in another video, that there have not been any of the Star Wars things that have crossed over into being that's more female than male.
Yeah.
We've had some Marvel properties cross over to be more female, focused on the audience than male, that there was more women than men. But they have not been able to do it with Star Wars because their target demographic is dudes. And there are women like me who like it too, but it's mostly dudes, whether you like it or not. And then making this show wasn't going to change that, and then they tried to pander to the Raylos, because that always works out so well. Yeah,
and that actually bit him in the ass, because that's a whole nother, like, anytime you pander to any kind of shipping fan base, you better do everything they want.
They are insane. I mean, not all of them. I'm not going to be clear. That's not everybody who's a shipper is crazy. There are a lot of shippers who are rational people. But the majority of the ones you hear about, the ones that stalk people and act like nuts, they are insane. And those are the people, like, I know that in the original, when they were doing the Disney trilogy, that poor Kylo Ren actor, Adam Driver, they were worried they were going to go after his family.
Wife and his kids, they were harassing.
They were worried they were going to go after, because these people just cannot separate reality in their mind. Anyway, that's what they decided to go with at the end, to double down on the shippers, because that always works out so well. So according to StarWars.net, they're talking about, I love this, the Acolyte's final viewership report. And this actually came out today, I believe. It's going to be a short segment on the Acolyte today for a couple of reasons. First, this topic is pretty much radioactive right now.
Oh, for God's sake.
And I don't want to incite any hateful comments by simply listing a bunch of facts. And some people reading between the lines.
That's what. So look, we've given a bunch of facts, and people have said that we're inciting hate or whatever over it. And it's like, no, just we're pointing to the. It's like, look, Disney, this is This is a case study in what not to do if you want to try to salvage the Star Wars fan base. You know?
Yeah, I know. This was
That's
really
all
dumb. Which we could have told them from the beginning when they started talking about it. It was not going to work. So they said that for the final week, which would have been July 15th and July 22nd, it was didn't even make the top 10 on Nielsen.
No.
It didn't even hit the top 10, didn't make the cut. So the other weeks was 488 minutes, which was 2 episodes, and it was an all-time low for Star Wars. And it went downhill from there. The third episode amassed 370 minutes watched. After that week, the show disappeared. That means its viewed minutes were under 298 million for week 3. It was 319 million for week 4, 332 million for week 5, and 375 million for week 6. On week 7, it reached the number 10 spot
10.
again with 335 million minutes watched. So that was it was in and out. It barely hit the top 10 more than a couple times. And that's just, it is what it is. I'm sorry. These are the numbers.
They're trying to put a positive spin on it.
Well, no, I think that they're saying, like, look, it just went downhill from there. And then they're trying to be fair is what I think is going on.
Right. But the thing is that the problem is you can't be fair about it, because if you're fair about any of these shows that certain demographics like, and you're fair about it, you're like, look, the numbers weren't there, then all of a sudden you're a Nazi, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a, whatever. It's like, no, the reality of the situation is Star Wars is on fire. The merchandise,
there's lots of fire in this show.
Yeah, too. even the concrete's on fire, right? But the franchise is on fire. Like, I don't know why it took you this long to figure out that the ship has sailed. You have chased off so much of your audience. People came back for The Mandalorian, and you screwed that up too. The toys are rotting on the shelves at Ollie's. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody's excited about anything Star Wars. I can't say nobody, but the vast majority of people. Star Wars is just another science fiction made-for-TV franchise now. That's all it is.
They even said this about the numbers, that people are going to argue, well, that's just one, place with the numbers. They said the caveats are they track a limited number of households, they are U.S. only, and they are a third-party service. They have not been corroborated with any platform reported on, but it's pretty noticeable from anecdotal experiences in our daily lives to other third-party firms that the numbers for the Acolyte were just not there.
Yeah.
And clearly it wasn't there. Because according to Deadline, they're being told it's been, that's it. Season 1's all you're going to get. There's going to be no season 2.
Yeah, because it didn't perform. And you can only bankroll failure for so long. I mean, this is what we're trying to get across people. Like, I think the problem with all the venture capital shit and the streaming war shit and all this stuff being propped up artificially, now that we actually have to make a return on investment, they're not going to be able to do all this stuff anymore. And now we're going to see what people are actually interested in. They're not going to be able to pump up these different shows. Say, well, that's the most watched thing ever. And people love it because look at all the people on Twitter that's talking about it. It's like, well, that doesn't bring in viewers, does it? 20 whatever million dollars an episode, and it looked worse than a 90s episode of Star Trek.
Yeah. And people, even like I said, even those who thought the show was good were questioning where the budget went. Because they said it does not look like the budget's there.
Boba Fett looked better, and Boba Fett had freaking plywood. You can see the plywood on some of the scenes because they didn't finish the sets, but at least I'll give them props for making, practical effects. But it's just like every one of these shows has gotten worse and worse and worse, and they need to go back and kind of like with Marvel and be like, yeah, we got to figure out how to fucking fix this. I mean, you've already blown up the comic book industry. I think Disney buying Marvel Comics was pretty much the kiss of death for the comic book industry. And then they kind of started this whole like lifestyle brand mentality. Like you were saying, they want to turn Star Wars into a lifestyle brand. Well, it doesn't work. Your audience is your audience. It doesn't mean you have to like them, but your audience is still primarily male, right? And they're primarily middle-aged. And all you got to do, Deadpool, Wolverine, all you got to do is give people what they want. And they give you money. It's like magic. It's magic. They will give you money if you give them what they want. And they're even forgiving. They came back after The Last Jedi and they checked out The Mandalorian because you gave them what they wanted.
Right.
And then you took it away.
You ruined it. Brought in Lizzo and Jack Black. But interestingly, though, we were talking about The Mandalorian, they have the movie coming out and they pushed back the Rey movie for that. Now you're not hearing anything about the Rey movie.
I don't think it's going to happen.
So who knows what's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Apparently, according to this one report, now again, everybody's running with it. Oh yeah, I see that the racist and misogynist one today. Well, I'm neither, Harv. Please tell me with tits how I'm misogynist.
Disney
please
said
do.
bye-bye. But this is
Christmas
it.
miracle.
It doesn't matter. This is what I'm trying to get across people. And this is on both sides of the aisle, right? It doesn't matter if you personally like it. It doesn't matter if you personally don't want the other side to win. What matters at the end of the day is, are enough people watching and or buying a thing to support a thing? It doesn't really matter if you personally like it. And the truth is, not enough people are watching Disney Star Wars to keep bankrolling more shitty shows like this. Mm-hmm. So bye.
They hate hot people. What hot people?
They hate hot people.
I'm like, what hot people?
They hate hot people. Yeah, see the shippers. This is the thing. You get the shippers in here. Did terribly. It's the only logical thing to do. A rare Disney W. Disney, I think they got a little taste of that Deadpool money. And I think they're like, wow, my God, we made $1 billion.
No, they got a taste of 2023.
They got a taste of reality.
And now they're like, shit, we got to perform.
Pretty much.
And this stuff was, how long they dragged this one on until they actually released it as it was. You know, you're going to have, now again, they said this is one report. This was Deadline saying a source told them.
A source
It hasn't been officially confirmed.
The Chuds
but they're all running with it. It's the Chuds. Right, because if you don't like this shit from this shitty show, you're a Chud.
Why does Disney hate hot people?
The shippers. The shippers are pissed.
Did the shippers buy the merchandise? Are they going to buy all those Acolyte action figures? They're going to pile up at Ollie's? Are they going to buy them?
Disney hate hot people. I don't know. You could have given them a show that had decent characterization and story, and then they are hot. It would have worked out. Yeah. You know? I don't know what to tell you. I do think Lee Jong-jae, or whatever, how you say his name, he's really good in everything he does, pretty much. And you said that he was like the one bright spot. That's what I've heard everybody keep saying. Yes. He was really good.
And again, I just,
I've never seen it, but disclaimer,
everybody said he's good. I only watched the third episode because people said it was just pure cringe. I'm like, okay, I got to see for myself. How bad is this show? And he was actually pretty good. And so was the woman that played the Mother Witch. The one that turns into smoke that they stab with a lightsaber somehow.
Yeah, you said that. You said it the whole time. You said
she was actually
really
pretty good too.
You said that the entire time.
I didn't understand why the twins that are played by the same adult woman were played by two different girls that looked very different.
I don't know.
But, the Parent Trap was a thing. They could have just taken the one kid and, whatever. But, or found twins. But, yeah, not a surprise. Disney, maybe they're learning. I think maybe they're learning. I mean, we were going to do a video. We actually pulled the plug on it talking about how the Fox movies have been doing pretty good this year. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like reality is starting to set in. Now, if they could just get their shit together in the theme parks, but at least
and not ruin Rivers of America.
Not ruin Rivers of America, because that's not because I think those decisions were made when they were doing that audit back in like 2017 and all the problematic whatever. And now they're just getting around to it. But I'm like, you got a good thing going. Your Fox movies are making money. Deadpool and Wolverine made money. Inside Out 2, you kept the politics out of it. It made money. If you fix Star Wars and you give people proper Star Wars, guess what?
It'll make money.
It'll make money.
If you make Obi-Wan about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke, which makes sense, it would have probably performed hell a lot better than making it about little Leia for no good reason. Gosh, I'm still pissed about that, because Obi-Wan was one of the ones I really wanted to see. Boba Fett was one of the ones I really wanted to see, and then we got Power Rangers Mandalorian 1.5.
God.
So we gotta wrap this shit up and flush it.
Yeah, I think Disney is doing it. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that Disney is starting to get it. They don't know what to do with Star Wars. They don't know what to do with the Muppets. They don't know what to do with Marvel. But they better figure out pretty fucking quick, right? Yep. Gonna wrap it up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.